every category has its own settings.
I I mean, I'm guessing you're relying on the honesty of the people, submitting those in that respect, 'cause there's no way of actually checking that, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Well, Rich checks them. Rich checks them. And if he sees something that he suspects might be breaking the rules, he'll come back to you and ask you to send him the raw, and he wants to see the raw. And he does the best that he can, and does a good job. These things are always so fluid, though. Everyone's got their own idea of what the rules should be for their category, and it's like it's like my wife when she was in the wedding business. She said that for the first 20 weddings that she did, every single wedding resulted in a new paragraph in her contract. Like, your wedding, something would happen. She's like, okay, there's a new paragraph in the contract now to cover that if it happens again. And it's kind of like that with image competition. Every year some little thing comes up that you've never had to deal with before, and you're like, oh, we never even thought of that being a problem. So now maybe we've got to put that into the rules, and it has to be worded in exactly the right way. And it's a very daunting task to be the person who has to dot the I's and cross the T's and make sure that it's right for everybody.
I mean, making it into the final 16 in your category already seems, I mean, you're already a winner once you're in there to a degree.
Yeah, well, you're a
Uh,
bronze medalist. If you make the final 16, if you make the show, which is on Saturday at Imaging USA, if you're one of the images that makes it to the final 16 in a category, then you're already a bronze medalist. And then every elimination round is a medal round. So if you make the final 16, you're a bronze medalist. If you survive to the round of 8, you're silver. If you survive to 4, you're gold. If you survive, wait, did I just say that right? Yeah, bronze, silver, gold, and then platinum, and then diamond.
right. What's the competition level like? I mean, how many
Clear.
on average, how many images are being entered into the annual competition in general, roughly?
I don't know what the number was. I know that this year's number was higher than last year's number. I think it's somewhere north of 3,000 images. I know it's somewhere north of $3,000. It might be 4,000. I think I said on stage it was 4,000. I think that was wrong. I think it was between 3 and 4,000. I'm not exactly sure. But the categories vary too. Again, if you go into a category that's very popular, then the difference between number 16 and number 1, when they go to the show, it can be very, very hard. However, um, in the categories that don't necessarily get a lot of entries, it can be quite obvious, to someone who's done a lot of competitions and looked at a lot of images. So you'll see in the first round, because it's weighted, right? It's tiered. That's not the word I'm looking for. What's the word I'm looking for? When the number one goes up against number 16,
Oh, yeah.
seeded.
Oh, seated,
Thank you.
yeah. Yeah.
It's seeded. So the number one image, the image in that category, they get the highest score overall. It goes up against the image that got the 16th highest score.
Yeah.
And 2 goes against 15, and 3 goes against 14. Um, and this is so that the number 1, number 2 image don't go up against each other in the first round, which wouldn't be right. So, many times in some categories, those images come up and you're just like, wow, we're just getting started, and how am I supposed to pick between these 2 images? And then other times the first 2 images come up and you go, oh yeah, well, it's A. It's obviously the one on the left. So it really depends on the category. The fewer images, I like to say that the first year, I'm pretty sure I could have medaled, because there were categories I would have entered into that weren't overflowing with images, and I think I could have made it to now I'm not so sure if I could medal so easily. I might could make it to bronze and reportage. I don't know if I was still doing weddings. It would take some of my very best wedding images ever to make it even into bronze in wedding, because some of the wedding people are just incredible. The stuff
I
that they're producing is
I have to
incredible.
say the wedding category was incredible. It was nuts. I mean,
Yeah.
that was just, and the winner, dare I say, shot everything on JPEG. There you go. That was another eye opener
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah. Scott, our
Scott.
friend Scott won,
Yeah.
and in his category, right? In the wedding category.
Yeah. They did.
And he shoots on JPEG with a Fuji GFX.
Yeah.
And
Unbelievable.
I'm just blown away by that. We are seeing more and more. There was one category, Rich told me, and I can't remember what it was. One of the categories, might have been nature or might have been sports, or I can't remember what it was, but he told me that the image that won that category was, in the bottom half of the 16. Might have even been last. I'm not sure, but every single round, because there's the round of 16, the round of 8, the round of 4, the round of 2, that gets you into the Gias. Then there's, again, 16, 8, 4, 2 to win. So there's 8 head-to-head competitions. Once you make it to Imaging USA through 15 judges, you are then judged in 8 head-to-head competitions. It's ridiculous. By 2 different sets of judges. I forget the number, but it's something like 25 different judges look at your image in order to win the whole thing.
Wow.
And there was one image that won 3-2 every single step of the way and won the category.
Wow.
Every single step. Never blew out the competition at all. That's how tough it was in that category. It was 3 judges to 2 at 16, 3 to 2 at 8, 3 to 2 at 4, 3 to 2 at 2. Now it's diamond and wins the category. Then 3 to 2 at the Chias. I mean, yeah, it was just all the way up the line. So it can be incredibly, incredibly hard to make it. But you can be the outliers, the underdogs can do it. The very first year, the image that won was an image that I really think it was an image that just became more popular every time it came up on screen. It survived the early rounds, and then every time you saw it again, you liked it more.
Hey, let me just jump in real quick to tell you about the amazing sponsor of this episode, Platypod. Platypod offers innovative camera support systems designed to unleash your creativity. With their stable, versatile, and portable solutions, you can capture stunning shots like never before. And I'm not just saying that. As the host of the Camera Shake podcast, I can personally vouch for Platypod's incredible products. They've become an integral part of the show. In fact, I'm surrounded by various Platypod products holding up lights, cameras, microphones, and so on. It's really helped to transform the way I make the show and the way I shoot at home, in the studio, and on location. But don't just take my word for it. Explore Platypod's website at www.platypod.com to discover their range of products, including the Platypod Extreme, Platyball tripod heads, and the brand new handle, of course. Make sure to follow Platypod on Instagram and Facebook at Platypod Tripods for exclusive updates, tips, and giveaways. By choosing Platypod, you're not only investing in your photography, but you're also supporting the Camera Shake Photography Podcast. Thanks again to Platypod, our amazing sponsor. Platypod, where innovation never sleeps.
If you're thinking strategically and you think like, okay, well, some categories are going to have a lot of entries and other categories not so much. What would be, strategically speaking, what would be a good category to enter into where there's maybe not such a high competition level?
I like reportage.
Mhm.
Reportage usually doesn't get a ton of people in it, and I personally love reportage, and that's why I can tell you that if I was entering, that reportage is where I would put most of my focus, even though I just do it for fun. I would go reportage photojournalism. I don't do it, but if I could do it, boudoir, I would go boudoir because boudoir will typically have some of those images where in the first round it's like clearly, this one is clearly going to beat this one. I say clearly to me, but not necessarily to everybody else. You see a lot of, in the very first round, here's what I would do. I would go back. The best way to do it would be to go on Saturday to Imaging USA, watch Saturday, and then watch the categories where in the very first round, there's a lot of 5 to zeros, where all 5 judges picked this image over this image. That's the category you wanna be in. The category
Ah,
where it's 3-2,
interesting.
3-2, 3-2, 3-2, that category is already full of rock stars, people who are just producing incredible images. But if it's 5-0, great. You probably could have taken the place of the O guy. You know,
Right.
you might coulda got one in there right there. You coulda got one in right there. So that's what I would look for. So, like, reportage, um, yeah, boudoir, nature is always full.
I
Nature and
bet.
landscape, very, very hard. Weddings, very, very hard.
I mean, portrait must be
Thi
hard.
this year, one of the specialty categories was, portrait of a group,
Oh, okay.
and didn't they decided, let's, because it's a thing that everybody does, and yet those images don't usually score very high, so people don't think about putting them in a competition. So they said, let's do a special category, and it's portrait of a group. And we didn't get near the people, I think, entering that category as we thought we would get. And there's hardly a photographer in the country, no matter what they do, that doesn't also do family portraits. So
Sure.
that would have been a good category. I don't even know if the category will come back this year. I don't know what categories that we're putting in
Mm.
this year. So portrait of a group was good last year. Uh, the Photoshop categories, you better be on your game. If you wanna go into anything that's Photoshop oriented, you better be on your game. You're gonna be going up against the Sandra Pierces and the Richard Sturtevants, and so forth of the world, and they're just the Dan McClanahans, you're just yeah, you better be good. So don't even think about going after those unless you're prepared to be a person who dedicates their life to being very good at it. Because the people you're going up against are people who are the best in the world. Um yeah, that's about it. Every other category is pretty evenly balanced. Sometimes things like portrait of a man, because it's not women are photographed more than men are.
Mm.
So if you can come up with some good stuff, portrait of a man, you've got a good shot. I mean, you got a good shot if you're a good photographer, no matter what category you go into. But if you want to play the game, go for the categories that have the lowest number of entries.
I think that's sort of probably. I think that's part of it. Really, it's sort of playing the game a little bit. I think for most people, I know this from my experience with like lowly camera club competitions. A lot of people like the gameplay of it. Um, and
Yeah, it's
so
all of it. It's not part of it. It's all.
yeah, and
It's
that's I
every
mean
bit of
that's exactly that's
yeah.
just the interesting thing.
Even in MIR, I was a person I struggled mightily with image competition when I first got into it. My first year, back then you could only put 4 images in a year. In my first year, I put in 4 images and I merited all 4. And I called up, I said, hey, called a friend. I said, I merited all 4, but I didn't loan, which was another step. You get a merit and then you could get judged again and get a second merit. But I got 4 merits, which was at the time was a bronze medal. And I was like, how is that good? And my friend was like, oh my God, that's unbelievable. You don't just merit 4 your first year.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip, then press here for the full episode in glorious Technicolor. Hey, and don't forget to subscribe.